Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chia, and in today's video I'm going to be doing the mid-year book tag. I can't believe we're already at the middle of the year. I am flabbergasted at every single time I do a TBR video or a monthly wrap-up video. I don't realize how fast the time is going. It's literally about to be summer in next week, I think it is, and I can't believe we're at this point. It's already starting to get warm here, so I'm not really up for the heat. I'm not a summer girl. I'm a fall and winter girl. I do not thrive in the heat. I do have a lot of events that go on during summertime, and I have had the best memories during summertime, but I don't like the heat. I don't feel well when I'm in the heat, but it is what it is right now, so we're just gonna try to enjoy the summer and then hope for cold weather this coming fall, okay? But this mid-year book tag originated with Larry Reads. I want to say she started it. If not, she's one of the people who constantly does it every single year, and the questions I'm going to be answering is going to come from her video. I will link her video down below, as well as the questions that I'm going to be using. So I think it's literally a bunch of questions where we're gonna go over my reading so far this year. So far, according to Goodreads, I'm currently 43 books. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier this year. I want to say I did. My goal this year is 75. Last year, I think it was 50, and then I increased it to 75 halfway through the year because I realized that I could easily do 50. And this year, I'm definitely going to reach my goal. Well, hopefully, cross my fingers, way before the end of the year. Let's see if I can read more, because last year I think I read 83. So this year I hope to read more than 83. We shall see, but I have a feeling that I will be reaching my goal sooner than later. First question is best book you've read so far in 2026. If you've seen my previous last couple of recent wrap-ups or shorts or whatever, the best book I've read so far this year definitely goes to Into the Blue by Emma Brody. Oh my gosh, guys. It's been about a month since I've read this, and I still can't stop myself from thinking about this couple. So this is a contemporary romance. It's more towards the literary fiction side of contemporary romance, but the romance between the couple is very, very heavy topic of the book. And so we follow two characters, Noah and AJ. AJ, we meet her first in early 2000s. She works at this VHS place called Real World. And so Noah Drew comes into the store one day because he's starting to work there. She gets angry about it because she doesn't understand why he's working there. He is notoriously known as a part of the famous Drew family. They have this huge legacy of being famous actors, actresses, everything. Noah's great aunt, Eudora, is a part of AJ's favorite science fiction indie show that she constantly writes fan fictions for. One day it leads to where she ends up getting trained, becoming a scene partner to Noah by Eudora. So they spend their whole entire summer basically learning how to be scene partners. And so they slowly start kind of falling in love. At the end of the summer, Noah kisses AJ and disappears for 7 years, and it goes on from there. And they end up meeting again because there's a producer who wants to make a sequel for Astronauticals, and AJ becomes part of that show as well as Noah. And so they meet again, and then you find out why they haven't spoken to each other for 7 years and why Noah up and left all of a sudden. And it's such a valid reason. And this book, oh my gosh, the yearning, the tension, the beautiful love story between the two characters, you feel it constantly. Whenever they are in the same room with each other, you don't even have to look up to know that they're constantly eyeing each other. AJ constantly feels Noah's eyes on her, and she feels where he is. During their scene partner, I guess you could say class, they basically form this tether, this bond where they try to be each other's scene partners, where they constantly know what the other's feeling, what the other's doing, whatever, and it translates into their relationship. The whole entire story follows them for 15 years, I think. And there's this whole entire thing where it's a push and pull. Their feelings have never dissipated at all, and I loved it. This is one of the best romances I've ever read. It's still the best book I've read so far this year. We'll see about the second half of this year. It's written so well. It's written so raw. This is the most raw-filled emotions I've read in such a long time. I'm very picky with my contemporary romance. It has to be a mixture of not only romance, but also we have to deep dive in the characters of the two people in the relationship, because I can't just read a whole entire romance book. But this one is so good. You can literally feel their feelings off the page, and then I bawled my eyes out. I will link the video where I read this, and it was the only book I gave 5 stars in the video that I read for which books I will rate 5 stars. So I've been screaming off the rooftops, streaming in every single video that I've made in the past few months for everyone to read this book, because I loved it so much. So definitely the top book. And also, this was a recent read of mine too from last month, which is The Correspondent by Virginia Evans. This is so beautiful. I love how it focuses on an epistolary novel where the whole entire book is written in letters. You would think there'd be like no character development for the character who writes letters, but it's so strong, all the different emotions that you feel from the character who's writing and also the emotions you get from the characters that's writing to her. So we follow a character named Sybil. She's an older lady, she's 73, and her main way of corresponding with people is through letters. She doesn't want to use a cell phone, she doesn't want to use like email or anything like that, even though there's a couple of email correspondence in here too, which she uses to speak to like a customer service representative and also her doctor. And so throughout the years as she writes back and forth, you could see her relationship with other people and how she deals with everything that she's dealing with, because she was a career woman for 30 to 40 years and it kind of affected her relationship with her husband as well as her kids. Like she couldn't be a ever-present mom, but yes, she wanted to be a career woman because that's the drive that she had. Basically reminiscent about all the stuff that she's done in her life and the stuff that she wants to change, the stuff that she barely is realizing now at 73. And I feel like this whole entire novel is just like a realization that it's never too late to do something or change something in your life. That even if you're 73 or your 80s, 90s, whatever, it's never too late to fix that relationship you had with somebody, to go after a dream that you've had, travel the world, whatever. And I love the whole entire significance of this book because of how like well written it is. And then Virginia Evans is her debut novel. This is her debut novel and the writing is so beautiful. And also there's like a little mystery thing here happening as well. There's a mystery like letter Sybil gets that she doesn't know who it's from and you have to figure it out. It's so good. So definitely those are my top 2 books of this year so far. Next question is worst book you've read so far this year. I have a couple. So the first one is We Who Will Die by Stasia Stark. Stasia Stark wrote Kingdom of Lies series. If you watched my, I think a couple of videos ago, I talked about Kingdom of Lies where I just didn't like the ending, but I wanted to give her another chance. So this follows a character who basically lives in the slums. She's the only one taking care of her 2 brothers, and unfortunately one of her younger brothers has like a lung problem because of some accident that happened a few years ago. And so this vampire basically comes and propositions her and tells her that he has a cure for her brother if she does something in exchange for it. She has to go to the Colosseum or whatever in this world where she has to participate in these trials and these like gladiator style competitions where she fights other people, and then she's basically doing it to get into the inner circle of the emperor. And once she gets into the inner circle, she is tasked to unalive him. So of course, dealing with like a sick brother and he is dangling a cure in front of her face, she basically says yes. And this sort of like I guess you could say Vampire Diaries-esque because there's a love triangle there. There's like a childhood friend that she meets over there that she's loved since she was a kid, and then there's also the emperor's son who attends these like trials also, and she interacts with them constantly. In between like them competing in these trials, then they have to like train competing in these trials. I hated this book. I gave it 2 stars. I did not like the romance whatsoever. I thought the characters were so stilted. There were so many character names introduced in this book. There was too much going on. Not only were we dealing with vampires, but there's also these people called the sigil marked, where there's like, I don't know, a sigil forming on their head where every single time they form powers is when that sigil shows up. The stronger you are, the different colors of the sigil, and you also have to deal with the mundanes, who are the humans who don't have any magical powers, who are not vampires. And you're dealing with the political aspect of like going to unalive the emperor and how he's like suppressing these people. Every single time a new character or a character would be named on the page, I couldn't understand who it was. I don't know if they were a new character, and I think the pacing was so off. There'd be a paragraph where she's training, and then a paragraph where she's competing in these trials, and then another paragraph where she's having like breakfast or something. It's like one after the other. Like it was whiplash trying to get through all of these like paragraphs. It was just too much going on. It was trying too much to make it so fast paced that it ignored character development, ignored like moving the plot along, and also ignored depth. And then another one that I think is like one of the worst ones. It's from like the video where I gave author second chance, and that is To Bleed a Crystal Bloom by Sarah A. Parker. This was so bad. It follows a character named Orlaith, and then she kind of gets rescued by somebody named Rorden when she's 2. This book is like a loose Rapunzel retelling, very loose. The only thing that's like a part of the Rapunzel theme is like basically Orlaith locks herself up in a tower, and so Rorden is like takes her away after rescuing her, and she lives in this castle with him with all these other like servants and stuff. She's basically his ward, and so she is pining after him. She has this like crush on him or whatever. He's holding her at arm's arm's length because I guess he's kind of having those sort of feelings for her too, but he doesn't want to because obviously he's like double her age. I literally said in my video that she acts like a kid the whole entire time. She pulls tantrums. There's a scene in here where all of a sudden she is going through heat in the freaking like dining room, right? And all of a sudden Warden's there, and also one of his like associates that trains her is there too. And then all of a sudden they sniff something and then they end up like freaking trying to bar her into her room so that no other males can go after her and she can't go after other males, yada yada yada. And it's so weird. It threw me off so badly, and then I gave it a 2.75. I think I want to lower it to 2 stars. The writing was good in here. The world made me interested, but everything else was bad. The characters were so bad. Warden was terrible. Don't imagine I'll be going on with the series. It's just not for me, and I can't root for 2 characters that just pissed me off the first book, especially for a 2-star book, you know? And then the last one is like one of my most recent reads, The Compound by Aisling Rawl. I don't know what happened in this book. So basically these characters like wake up in this compound house. It's sort of Love Island mixed with Lord of the Flies. So yeah, these characters wake up. We follow this character named Lily. We are in her POV the whole time. So she slowly starts going around the compound to find other contestants who are opening their eyes. So they basically like sign themselves up to be a part of this competition, or I don't know, I guess like reality TV show where they have to make it to like the last possible second so they can get all these riches and privileges. So what they do is they have to work together as a team to complete these tasks, these like joint tasks to get food or get like necessities like, I don't know, shampoo and hygiene products, and also maybe a couch. And they also have individual tasks too where they kind of maybe sabotage another player or ruin an item from another player or strike up a conversation with another player so that they can get individual rewards too, like a hairbrush. And every single time like they get these individual rewards, there's like a little slip of paper that says the product brand and all that stuff, and they have to directly look at the camera and say thank you to this brand. And this is a chance for them to basically get sponsored when they get out of this compound. And all of these weird stuff start happening. I don't know what this genre is. Like, it was trying to be a literary fiction and also a thriller and a mystery, and there was like constant back and forth between these characters for no reason whatsoever besides like creating drama. There were points where they had to do gross nasty stuff like eating grass, for example, to get a freaking lawnmower or something, or like whatever the prize is. And then also they have to couple up. And also I did not like how it was written. It felt very superficial. I didn't like our main character whatsoever, and I guess like that's the whole entire point of it, that you're not supposed to like these characters, that a lot of these people who are on reality TV shows act like this so they can be on the camera majority of the time and be the audience's favorites and stuff. And even there's a terrible character in here too who is such a terrible human being who causes a lot of dangerous stuff to happen to these other competitors, yet they're still on for a good while because, you know, to have people keep coming and tuning in. And also the main character is completely like superficial. She's so materialistic. There's like no commentary whatsoever. I wish there was like more in-depth stuff that we learned about these characters, that it wasn't so surface level, and there was just, I just feel like there was no point to the story whatsoever. And I was so dissatisfied with everything. And also the chapters were so long. There are 20 pages for no reason. Like, it felt like one long run-on sentence the whole entire time I was reading it. There's a lot of commentary that could have been made in this book that I wish that it did, and yet it didn't, and I wish it was done better. And there was such a good premise with this, especially about following reality TV show and how commentary of how society focuses so much in this reality TV show that it kind of disassociates us with like the people in this reality TV show, forgetting that they're actual people and yet we're using them for entertainment purposes. And also there was like commentary outside where they were sitting in a dystopian world where there was a war going on, and every single time one of the boys would come across our female main character, she would wonder if they were a part of the war, if they were ever in the war. And I wanted to know more about that and how everything connected. It was just a lot of crap for no reason. That's the whole entire thing about this, and I did not like it whatsoever. Okay, next question is best sequel you've read so far this year. So one of the best sequels I've read so far this year is one of my like hugest surprise. I did not like the first book of the series, but I did end up picking up The Ballad of Falling Dragons by Sarah A. Parker. So the first book in the series, in case you don't know, is called When the Moon Hatched, and I did not not like When the Moon Hatched whatsoever. I read it back in 2024, early 2024. I could not stand the writing because it was so overly descriptive and it was flowery for no reason, and it would like take so long to say a sentence in like 3 paragraphs, and it just would go on and on and on with all these metaphors and these descriptions, and it was overly descriptive, and I did not like that. And so I was hesitant about picking up the second book. I did like the world enough, and the magic system, and also the male main character was really good too. And I knew the romance would be good. It's just that our female main character was just so back and forth. And I get it, she went through a lot of PTSD and like trauma and a lot of that stuff, so that's the reason why. But still, I heard so many people picking it up and rating it 5 stars, and even the people who disliked When the Moon Hatched said they picked up The Ballad of Falling Dragons and fell in love with it. So I decided to give it a chance and picked it up, and guys, I gave this book a 5 stars. It was so good. I was so surprised in how much I loved it. There were so many good improvements in this book, which is crazy because I've read a lot of sequels this year, and I'll talk about that next, where they were so disappointing, especially since I loved the first book so much. This sequel is one of the best sequels I've ever read. It did not suffer from second book syndrome. It expanded the world. It gave me the character development that I wanted from Rave. The whole entire like emotions that I connected in this book to. The way I was crying at certain points, and then I was like sobbing at the end of the book because of the stuff that was happening. And then the villain in this book, guys, oh my gosh, I hated this villain. It's very rare that I have a villain that I absolutely despise, and this villain here, he made me cry with how much I hated what he did with one of the characters. It was so good. It's a multi-POV fantasy, and it's definitely like a very descriptive fantasy. It's a lot more fantasy driven than romance driven, but it's so equally done. It's so well done. I fell in love with Rave and Khan's story in here. Their love story, the growth you see, the way she kind of chooses to love. My gosh, it was so good. I loved every single POV in this book. The way dragons are portrayed in this book is so well done. I love how the dragons are way more than just like a pet or like a extension of like another character. It's more of like, oh, these dragons have their own personalities and have their own lore and backstories and have their own feeling situations. I ate this book up. I was crying, and guys, this is one of the best books I've read this year. If you were in the same boat as me that you didn't like When the Moon Hatched because of certain things, especially if you had the same problems I did with the first book, I promise you this book is way better than that one. So I highly recommend giving this another chance. Worst sequel you've read so far in 2026, and unfortunately that has to go to Fury Bound by Sable Sorensen. Oh my gosh, I'm so disappointed in this book. I originally gave this a 4 stars, but thinking back on it, the more I think about it, the more I sit with my feelings about it, I kind of want to lower my rating to 3 stars in all honesty. This book, there was so much hope and like expectations I had in this book that just did not deliver. So we follow a character named Marin. She unfortunately witnesses her sister getting kidnapped by these nabbers, and she is taken to these enemies that they've been fighting a war for called the Siphons. And the only way to get her sister back is to go on the front lines and join the army. But when she decides to join the army, there is a bonding trial that has to happen. So basically people have to climb up this mountain. There's these direwolves that are waiting at the top of the mountain and see if a direwolf chooses her. But she doesn't want to be chosen. She just want to finish the trial and then be off on her way to the front lines. Unfortunately, a direwolf has other plans for her, and she goes through training, and then she goes through these like basic trials where she has to figure out how to bond with her direwolf even though she doesn't want to. She also has this like little love story that goes on with like a childhood best friend she has. There's an instructor that is in charge of her little faction that she gets assigned to, that she starts sort of having interactions with. We get this big cliffhanger at the end of Direbound, and we dive straight into it. I was loving it for the first 50%, and then just started going downhill from there. I loved the little tension that we got between the male main character and the female main character, but once they got to the point where they started getting together and started doing spicy scenes, I lost so much interest in their story because it just got so spicy so fast, and it was lacking depth. I didn't feel the emotional connection from them. I didn't even hear them really talk after the 50% point, to be honest. And I didn't like the second half of the book because there was so much lore dump in here. The story that we first got and a big enemy that we first got in the first book, and the thing that I thought we were going to be going after, was kind of wrapped up really quickly, and just so that we can get to this bigger final boss that we have to go through in the last book. I don't know why they decided to do that. I just didn't like anything that happened in this book. The only person that kind of like redeemed it for me, kind of, is Lucian, which is one of the new characters. And there's also like a side love story that are happening too, and that's the only things that redeemed it for me. I just didn't like how everything happened, and I feel like we didn't get the character development I wanted from Marin. I just disliked the way this was handled, and I wish it was better because this was one of my most anticipated releases of this year. That's what I meant earlier when I mentioned that like a lot of the sequels I've been reading is kind of disappointing. And then the next one is new release you haven't read yet but want to, and that has to go to Starside by Alex Astor. I heard so many amazing things about this, but the reason why I haven't picked it up yet is because I haven't had a chance to pick up Light Lark yet, and I want to kind of read that first before I pick up this one, so maybe after I pick up the first book then I will dive into this one. Is it dystopian? I'm not too sure, but I heard amazing things about it, so I really want to pick it up and give Alex Astor a chance. I know that a lot of people did not like Light Lark because of like the way it was written, and also the romance was kind of dragging on for certain things because it is a love triangle, but I heard this one is way better, so we shall see how I think about it, but I still want to pick it up. And then the next one is The Sea Spinner by Julie Johnson, the sequel to Wind Weaver, and I really did like the Wind Weaver, but there were certain points where I wanted a little more development in certain areas of that book, and I heard that we're getting that in here, so I can't wait to pick this up. And we are going to be exploring a different part of the world that is not a part of where she originally was at, and that's what I wanted more of. And I've heard nothing but amazing things about the sequel, that everyone said it's way better than the first book, so I still have to really read this before, you know, the second half of this year and all the other releases come out. Next is most anticipated release of the second half of this year. Okay, hold on because there's so many. The first one is The Knave and the Moon by Rachel Gillick. That one is coming out on September 1st. That one is the sequel to The Night of the Moth, and it's just going to be a duology, and with that huge cliffhanger, I cannot wait for that to come out, and it's perfect for fall time. And then of course we got the release date finally for Burn of the Everflame, which is the fourth book in the Spark of the Everflame series, or the Kindred's Curse saga. Finally, we're gonna get the conclusion for that series, but now I have to reread the first two books and actually pick up the third book because I haven't picked it up yet, since I wanted to wait for Burn of the Everflame to be announced first before I read it, and I have to read that. And then the other ones are The Wretched Divine by Adeline Grace. I love Belladonna from her. I love her writing, so I can't wait for that to release, which is outside of the Belladonna series. And then of course The Mirror of Infinite Endings, which is coming out on September 22nd. They're both coming out on September 22nd. This book is by Stephanie Garber. It's the novella that is sort of like a companion book to Once Upon a Broken Heart, and it's focusing on Jax and Eva. And of course September 29th is going to come out, which is the Untitled Empyrean novella. We have no idea who that one's gonna follow. We have an idea. I don't think it's going to be a certain POV from any of the main characters. I think it's going to be one of the side characters, so we shall see. I'm so excited. I can't believe she's coming out with a novella this year. Granted, it's not book 4, but I know she's still currently writing it. And of course the last three, ACOTAR 6, we finally have a release date, which is October 27th, and we're gonna get another one in January. That's one of my most anticipated releases. And then also The Last King of Fairy, which is the last ever trilogy that Cassandra Clare is going to write in the Shadowhunter universe. I can't believe she's finally going to be done with it. This is going to be the first of 3, so we're still going to have a couple more books to release over the next few years, but the fact that it's going to be the last trilogy that she's ever going to write in the Shadowhunter universe, which is making me feel a lot of things, but I'm not trying to examine that right now because we still have time to say goodbye to certain characters, and I can't believe we're gonna be seeing the completion of it. It's so crazy. And of course The Wolf Queen, which is the third book in the Wolf King trilogy. I absolutely love the Wolf King trilogy. The Night Prince, which is the sequel, was one of my best books of last year. I'm so excited to finally get that in my hands because I finally want to know the conclusion. The choices need to be made for certain characters, and I'm so excited to see what's gonna happen. I thought the first half of 2026 was gonna have a lot of releases, but the second half, all of these authors said, you know what, we're just gonna release everything. And the thing about it is, especially for ACOTAR 6, The Last King of Fairy, as well as Burn of the Everflame, I had to read a bunch of books, so I think I'm gonna be spending the summer probably rereading a lot of stuff, and I'm so excited / kind of overwhelmed right now because rereading a lot of books where there's multiple in a universe is just really daunting to me, but we shall see. And I'm so excited for the second half this year. I'm probably not gonna be sleeping a lot because I'm gonna be reading so many books, but who wants to complain about that, right? Okay, so the biggest surprise of the year has to to go to Mile High by Liz Town 40. That was the first ever like sports romance I picked up. There is a couple of sports themed like books, but they weren't necessarily sports romance or more like on the literary fiction side. But this one is the first book in the Windy City series. I heard nothing but amazing things about the Windy City series, but I never like really wanted to pick it up because I'm not really a sports romance girl. In fact, I was like kind of leaning away from contemporary romance, but one of my TBR jar prompts chose that for me, so I ended up picking it up and reading it on my Kindle, and I absolutely loved. I loved the character development we had with our characters and the way they found a way to come together to basically help with each other's insecurities, and mental health is a huge big thing, and I love the found family in this universe. I loved how it was done. A lot of people did not like it because they think that it was just so badly done. I thought it was great. I loved their character development and how they fell in love with each other. It's one of the best books I've read so far this year, and it was a huge surprise. That was my biggest surprise of this year. Okay, next question is favorite new author or debut or new to you? So my favorite new author has to go to Sarah DeMoss. I read The Bright Years and The Birding Side from her. The Bright Years is her debut novel. It came out early last year, I want to say, and then The Birding Side is her newest book. So this one is my favorite so far from her. She's a literary fiction author. She writes human emotions and family dynamics so well. This is the same case with The Bright Years and The Birding Side, where she goes over like relationships and how fundamental they are to who you become growing up. And also this one follows like different multi-POVs, a multi-generational story, and it's just so many things that affect humans like every single day, and how every single person goes through these like different developmental like emotional trauma that unfortunately comes from family members that you don't choose, that are blood related to you. And sometimes it talks about boundaries and having to cut off certain people in your life despite having like blood relations to them, because they're just not contributing to how you are as a person. It's just making your own mental health and well-being worse, and it's just that kind of story. And I love how raw her writing is. It's very like relatable, because a lot of people go through this every single day, and I love how she writes, and she is one of my new favorite authors, and I can't wait to read more of hers. Same thing with The Birding Side. It goes through another multi-POV generational story where it deals with pending divorce, as well as a house fire, and as well as a diagnosis of Alzheimer's in the family. I love the themes that she goes over in her books, and her writing is phenomenal, and her books are not even that long. They're like less than 300 pages. I think Burning Side is a little over 300 pages, and the fact she makes you care and relate to these characters and connect at an emotional level really fast, it shows the testament how amazing her writing is. And I highly recommend people to pick this up, especially if you're not really into like literary fictions. I think Sarah DeMoss writing is very, very easy to get into, and it makes you care like so fast for the characters. And then the next question is newest fictional crush. That hands down has to go to Con Vager from The Ballad of Falling Dragons. The way this man loves and yearns for Rave, it's ridiculous. He has unending patience and so much respect for Rave, and is so willing to give her like space and whatever she needs to basically go over her trauma and her emotional turmoil and her past and all the hurt that she's experienced. He is willing to like wait there for however long or forever to basically have her fall in love with him or care about her or anything that she needs from him. He will do it. But he is not just like a love interest for her. He is so fleshed out and has his own backstory and his own past and his own personality and beliefs and feelings, and he has a whole entire like country and part of the world and people that he has to take care of. So beautifully done how Sarah A. Parker writes him. The lines that come out of this man's mouth, it's ridiculous. There's a line in here where like, true love doesn't expire, Rave. It clings to you like a weight even when you're drowning. Like, come on. The yearning this man does, so wonderful, so good. Like I said, this was a huge surprise for me, and I completely fell in love with their love story, and he's a huge fictional crush for me, and he's so... read it, guys, read it. And then books that made you cry, besides like the ones I talked about already, Book Lover by Emily Henry. It's so good. I was so surprised in how much I related to this book. The reason why I cried so much is because I felt every single thing that Nora was feeling. She is one of the, probably the most relatable character I've had in any of Emily Henry's books. The way I feel constantly all the time, how everything has to be a certain way because otherwise certain things will fall apart, or the way she has to have responsibility for making sure that every single person who's around gender is happy, and the way she has to basically be a mom and an older sister to her younger sister, and how she's taken on that role her whole entire life, and the way she cares for people and the way she loves. It's everything I've always wanted in a female main character, and she's one of my favorites. And this book made me sob, especially the second half of the book, the way the things like kind of get resolved and ended. It's so good. This is number one Emily Henry book I've read over Happy Place, because Happy Place has been my favorite for the past few years, but Book Lovers has taken up, and also the way she relates to books also, because she's a literary agent. So good. And then Book That Made You Happy. I don't have a lot of like happy books, to be honest. I think I honestly do not like, you know, gravitate to books unless they're gonna emotionally destroy me or emotional connect to it, and I need deeper depth with it. But if you had to make me choose, that has to go to the Emma M. Lyon series. It's called The Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon. It's just a slice of life. It's like a big warm hug every single time I pick up one of those books. They're on Kindle Unlimited. It's like an 8-book series, but it's gonna be like a 24 or 25 book series because it's supposed to follow Emma's life for the next 4 years. And so it's so good. It's literally a slice of life. There are points of where she's dealing with grief because she deals with losing multiple loved ones, and how she kind of like tries hard not to think about them because it just makes her sad. But then there's all these like quirky things that happen in her street and also her neighborhood and the cousin that she has to deal with in her house. It's so good. It's a very Victorian set, 1800s like worlds where everything has to be prim and proper. But if you love Jane Austen books, Jane Austen movies, and even Anne of Green Gables, you will love this series. This one is making me happy. This whole entire series is making me happy right now. Okay friends, last two questions. The second to last one is most beautiful you've bought so far this year or received, and that has to go to one of my Fairy Loot subscription boxes. It's YA. It's called The Sun and the Star Maker by Rachel Griffin. It's so pretty. Look at it. And then the way the art, oh my gosh. Now I have not read this yet because I'm waiting for wintertime, because look at the snow. I can't imagine reading this in the middle of summertime, but it came with this card right here, and these are the end pages. Very Frozen if you ask me. And then gorgeous. Look at it, gorgeous. It's so good. And then also like it's like a fading thing where it's like the night sky, and then there's like little stars at the top, goes down, and there's just like snow at the bottom. This definitely is one of the prettiest I've bought through my subscription box, and I love it. And I can't wait till it gets colder so I can actually read this. I think it's gonna be perfect for fall winter time, like the little crust before like Thanksgiving and stuff like that. And then the last question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? That's a lot. Daggermouth by H.M. Wolf, I want to say that's her name is. That one's another dystopian book that I've been hearing nothing but great things about, and I need to see, because all of the other previous dystopian books that I picked up have not been successful. I did not like Silver Elite, one of the worst books, as well as To Cage a Wild Bird. That one was another dystopian romance book that came out. Terrible, absolutely terrible. So I'm still trying to find a book that's like really good. And also there's a few more books. Oh yeah, another new release that I forgot to talk about that I need to read. The sequel to Metal Slinger by Rachel Schneider. It came out on Tuesday, and that one is Light Wielder. I think it's going to be a trilogy. It was supposed to be a duology, but she hinted that it might not be over yet. I don't know if it's gonna follow our main characters. Maybe it might follow a side character, who knows, because it was supposed to be a duology. I'm not too sure how that's gonna work. I guess I'll find out when I finally finish Light Wielder, but I really need to read that because that cliffhanger at the end of Metal Slinger was crazy. I need to see how everything's gonna work out with that and how everything's gonna conclude, hopefully, and I hope it's a good sequel. Like I said, I've been burned by a lot of sequels the past few months. I'm coming in with sort of like mediocre, average expectations because of the fact that I got burned by a lot of sequels this year. So I'm hoping that all the new releases that are coming out the rest of the year will be better than the ones that are released the first half of the year. I really need to read it before the end of the year though, definitely. And also, is there anything else I want to read before the end of the year? Stormbreaker by Nisha J. Tooley. I haven't read anything by Nisha J. Tooley. I haven't read her Trial of the Sun Queen book yet. I don't know if I want to, because I heard that's another book series that like the first two are good, but it just gets terrible as the series go on, so I'm not too sure if I want to read that. I got Stormbreaker in my Fairy Loot subscription box, so I really want to read that since I already have it physically. And also the Shadow Reaper. I want to say that that's the next book that's coming out for the upcoming YA box, but I want to read it nonetheless. I love Noni's writing. I really especially love her Doran Chronicles books. I'm in the middle of the third one right now. I love just how she writes things. That is all that like I really need to read by the end of this year. So we shall see. We shall see that I find a love out of all of these. That is it from me, friends. Like I said, I left the questions down below, so if you want to answer them in your own video or answer them in the comments, please feel free to answer them. I like interacting with you guys in the comments. And also, thank you so much for 500 subscribers. I can't believe we're halfway to 1,000. That's crazy. I didn't think I would get this far, to be honest. There's many points where I wanted to give up just because of like life and discouragement and feeling like I'm not good enough to do all of this, but I love talking about books and it's one of my most passionate things because I love books so much, if you can't tell. But thank you for all your support. If you want more videos like this, like and subscribe. It really does help my channel a lot, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!